Hello, I'm Michelle and welcome back to Somewhere in Bookland. This is my January wrap-up and it's late, but that's okay. I did read 6 books in January. Let's go over a little bit of the breakdown of these books. I read 6 books in the month of January. I read 4 YA books and 2 new adult/adult books, but I think they're more adult than new adult. I read 3 physical books, listened to 1 audiobook, and read 2 ebooks. One of the audiobook was from my library, so there's that. And now I'm just going to get into the books that I read. So the first book I read in the month of January was a book I bought at the Strand bookstore in New York. I went to New York for the first time near the end of December. After Christmas, around Christmas time. I was in New York at Christmas instead of with my family. I was in New York with my girlfriend. We went to New York, we went to New York because we were going to New Jersey for a concert, an All Time Low concert. They were doing a 10-year anniversary show for their first full-length album, So Wrong It's Right, where they played the whole thing from beginning to end. And we ended up staying in New York for about a week because both of us had never been to New York before. So we used that as an opportunity just to go to New York for the first time. My knee just popped. And so I wanted to check out the Strand. And I fell in love with that place, and I wish I had had more time to spend in that bookstore, and I wish I had let myself get more books, but I had told myself before going in there that I was just going to buy 1 book because I didn't need to be carrying a whole bunch of books back. And I did buy a bag and a couple of zippy bags that say the Strand on them and stuff like that, but that's beside the point. I also bought this magnet that says Born to Read, Forced to Work, which is just like my life story. So anyway, I decided to buy 1 book, and I wasn't sure which book I wanted to buy from there. And then I decided since I went there to see a concert, I should get a book kind of like related to music bands-ish. And I ended up getting Kill the Boy Band by Goldie Modofsky. I don't think I'm saying her last name right. And getting this book because I had heard that I would probably really like it because it's about music-ish, bands-ish, and I love music. And it was okay. This book is about these 4 girls. They really like this one band called the Ruperts, I believe. Yeah, they really like this one band called the Ruperts, and they're all named Rupert, which is weird. And I kind of got the feeling that it was supposed to be like a play off of One Direction, just the way the band started in the book from like a TV show, and One Direction started from a TV show. And I had never really been into One Direction. I'd never really listened to them until recently, actually. Last year I kind of got into the new album, Harry Styles' album. And I loved his solo debut album, and I was like, what? He was in One Direction? Like, really? And then I went back and started listening to One Direction, and I fell down a One Direction rabbit hole. Yes, I did. So I think that's kind of who this is supposed, that was a tangent, but I feel like that's who this is supposed to be, kind of like a play off of them. I'm not sure if it's really supposed to be. It's kind of weird. Like these 4 girls, they had met each other because they were all fans of them, and so they met at like concerts and stuff, or some of them met at school, but they all became friends because they were all fans of this band, which is really a realistic thing, because I've made friends because of the music I've listened to or the books I've read. Like, I've made friends through those things, so I feel like that's really realistic. So the whole premise of this book is that the Ruperts are coming into town, and they're staying at this hotel. And so the girls end up getting a room at the hotel so they can meet them, because some of them have met them before and some haven't, whatever. So they get a room, and they end up kidnapping one of the guys and stuff goes down. Like, you can't trust any of them, and it's just so, like, mind weird. Not weird, but like, you can't trust any of them. You don't know who to believe. You don't know what to believe. And you know people are lying, and you never know the main character's name. Like, the girl telling the story. But yeah, you never know her name. And it's not bad. It's not amazing. I'd give it like a 3.5 stars. I love this cover better than the other cover that they have for it. But yeah, I'd give it like a 3.5 stars. To me, 3 stars isn't a bad rating. If I give something 3 stars, I didn't hate it. Like, if I give it 5 stars, it was amazing. If I give it 4 stars, you know, it was good. If I give it 3 stars, like, I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. It's like, I didn't hate it. 3 stars to me is good. It's like, I liked it, but I didn't love it, you know? But I didn't hate it. So 3 stars, I'd give it about 3 stars. That's a good rating for me. Good middle of the road book. The second book I read in the month of January was Love, Life, and the List by Casey West. And I love Casey West. The first book I read of hers was P.S. I Like You. And she's from my area. So she was in town doing a signing and just talking about the book and stuff, like a Q&A thing. And she's just so sweet. Like, she's so nice. And I ended up devouring that book, and she's just so nice. I think that's one of the reasons, like, I wanted to read that book more. And then I devoured all her books, and I like them all. Like, I like them. They're kind of cheesy, and they're really quick reads, and I don't mind that. Like, I like books like that. This one in particular is about this girl, Abby, who is an artiste. She likes, you know, art, and she really wants to be in this art show. And then she gets turned down because she gets told that her art doesn't have enough heart. And that devastates her. And she decides to come up with this list of 10 things to do. And she thinks that if she does these 10 things, that she is going to find the heart, and it's going to make her art so much better. And her friend ends up helping her, and you get to meet like her family and stuff. And obviously it's a romance, you know. It's a friend she's had forever. They end up falling for each other type of thing. I like that trope of like growing up with someone and you guys have been friends forever and now you're starting to get feelings for each other. I really like that trope. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. It wasn't like the best book of hers I've read. It wasn't the worst book of hers I've read, but it was good. I gave it 4 stars. This book took me 2 hours and 43 minutes to read, so I kind of flew through it. I read it in one sitting. It's really, really good, but not amazing. So yeah, 4 stars. 4 stars. Next book I read was The Ones Who Got Away by Ronnie Lauren. And this is more of like an adult romance. And the main characters are about 30 years old. So they're close to my age because I'll be 28 in 2 weeks. Or, you know, it might be a week by the time I post this video. But the main characters are 30 years old. And they had survived, they're survivors of a shooting that had happened at their high school. And I was expecting to bawl throughout this whole book, and I didn't. Like, I cried a little bit, but not as much as I thought I would, which was surprising. But the main character of this book is named Liv, and it's kind of about her and this guy Finn kind of getting together 12 years after the shooting. They're both in town to film interviews for this documentary that's going to be released about the anniversary of it and everything that's happened. And she opens a letter that she had written right after everything had happened. Her and some of the other girls, the other survivors, had written this letter, and they had each written like where they wanted to be. And she's disappointed that she's not where she thought she was going to be, and she has all this trauma still from the shooting, and she still has all this baggage to unpack, especially with Finn. And she ends up reconnecting with him, and he ends up, like, his whole life has been modeled, not modeled, but he became like a CIA/FBI agent, undercover one, because of what he'd gone through. And it's just kind of both of them dealing with their baggage and dealing with the repercussions of what had happened. And it was sad, and it's them like reconnecting, and it was good. I gave it 4 stars, and this book took me 3 hours and 32 minutes to read, which I'm just saying that, like, I like putting how long it took me to read because I find it interesting, and then I can add it up and say, oh, this is how many hours I read this month. So I'm just going to include how long it takes me to read these books. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So the next book I read, the 4th book I read, was Autobiography by Christina Lauren. I talk about this in my January favorites, and I loved this book. I listened to this one on audiobook. It is about this guy, Tanner, who's 17. He's bisexual. He was out in California, but him and his family moved back to Utah. And he went back into the closet because he moved into a very, like, Mormon town. And it's good. It made me cry. He ends up falling for this guy who's Mormon. He ends up falling for this guy. And it's just like, that guy's dealing with, my religion's against this. I don't know how to handle this type of thing. And it's good. It's sad. It made me cry. I love it. I highly recommend it. 5-star read. Listen to the audiobook. Amazing. So the next book I read is called Saving It by Monica Murphy. Now, I read this book because it is published by Entangled Crush, and I tend to really enjoy those books. They tend to be very cheesy, like YA books, and I'm all about the cheesy YA books. I gave this book 4 stars because it's not amazing. Well, I gave it like 3.5, but you know, I rounded up to 4 instead of rounding down to 3. It's not like amazing, but it was what I wanted. It was a quick, cheesy YA read, and that's what I wanted it to be, so it was everything I wanted it to be. It's about this girl, Eden, and her friend Josh, and it's told in dual perspectives. It's told from both of their perspectives. Josh asks Eden for help losing his virginity, and she's like, what? We've been friends forever, and like, that's all how I see you. I only see you as a friend, you know, best friend. I'm not gonna help you lose your virginity. He's like, whoa, Eden, like, I don't mean you help me lose it. I mean, like, I want you to help me find someone to lose it to, because I just want to lose it already. And she's like, I don't know if I should do that. And he's like, yeah, you should. And she ends up helping him find a girl to lose his virginity to. And over the course of the book, like, I'm sure you can guess what happens. Let's just say I love the trope where they, like, I love tropes. I love romantic tropes. I'm a sucker for certain tropes. I really like, obviously I said in the last book, I like when they're friends and they don't realize that they have feelings for each other. I said that about Love Life and the List. This is basically the same exact thing. And I liked it for what it was. Like I said, 3.5 star, 4 star, 3.5 star, rounded up to 4 star. It's not a bad book. It's cheesy. It's quick. You don't go super into depth on the characters, but that's not what, when I read a book by Entangled Crush, that's not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting something cheesy and quick. So for what it was, for what I was expecting it to be, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. The last book of them, oh, and that book, I forgot to say, that book took me 2 hours and 32 minutes to read. Okay? 2 hours and 32 minutes. The last book I read of January was 30 Day Boyfriend by Whitney G. And I picked this book up because I love Sincerely Carter by Whitney G. And like, I loved Sincerely Carter, and I read the novella Sincerely Arizona, and it was okay, but I love Sincerely Carter. So I bought this book, and I bought Co-Wrecker by her at the same time, and I picked this one up first, and I shouldn't have. I did not like it. It's obviously, I've only read 2 of her books now, but it's my least favorite out of those 2. This book is about this girl, Emily, who works for this guy, Nicholas. She's his assistant. He's like this big type Wall Street guy, right? Really makes a lot of money. Nobody really likes him. He's kind of like, you know, hard to get along with. She's been his assistant for a while, and she's really good at what she does, but she's been trying to get out of the position. She doesn't want to be his assistant anymore. And so she's been trying to find other jobs, and he finds out, and he's been like blocking her because she signed a contract and she's not supposed to be able to, you know, leave just like that. And she's trying to get out of the contract, and there's no loopholes. There's no way for her to get out of this contract. So he offers her a proposition. He's trying to sign this client or do some business deal where he's gonna make a lot of money off of it. But the guy that he wants to do the business deal with really only wants to do a deal with somebody who's a family man, and he's not. He's like a playboy, right? So, or well, he's been like the most eligible bachelor type thing. So he offers her the deal that if she pretends to be his fiance, he will give her so much money and out of her contract, so she could go find another job somewhere else. Let me start this by saying I love tropes that start with a fake relationship and it turns into a real relationship. I love those tropes. I did not like this book. It went by so quick. It was such a short book, and it went by so quick that you didn't really get to see, like, they hated each other. Hate to love, I love hate to love. Fake relationship, I love fake relationship. I love the angst and the slow burn romances. And this one was like, it wanted to be a slow burn, but it wasn't. There was just like no angst. Everything happened so quick, and it just, there was like no depth to the characters, which, I mean, I don't mind. I'll read books like this. Like, I gave it 3 stars. I don't know if I might lower it to 2 because I just wasn't the biggest fan of it. It only took me 59 minutes to read this book. I like books. I read romance books. I mean, there's some books I read just for the smut. And I go into it knowing this book isn't going to have any plot, nothing really. It's just a smutty book. And if I go into it knowing that, and that's all it provides, like, I'm not disappointed because that's all I knew I was getting out of it. I'm still not going to rate it as an amazing book because it's not amazing. Like, it is what it said it was, but it's not amazing. My favorite is when there's smut mixed in with like a story, and this one is what I thought that was gonna be, and I just didn't like this. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't like this book. I was disappointed in this book. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that book. I'm gonna lower it to a 2 star. I'm definitely gonna lower it to a 2 star. But yeah, that's my January wrap up. I read 6 books. If you would like to click like. If you would like to subscribe, click subscribe. If you want to see more of this face in your feed, I have the hiccups. I like having somebody to talk books about too. And right now I only have like 1 or 2 friends who read what I read, and they don't like romance. They like fantasy. I have a couple friends who read what I read. I like fantasy, but I've been really into romance like the past year, and nobody likes romance. Well, anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye.